This is AMI help for question number 3. And this is, of course, out of week 12. This question is quite long. We want to display the track name, playlist name, and playlist ID for those tracks appearing in more than 4 different playlists. We want to order by, well, let's worry about ordering by next, or at the very last. So what code would do that? So we want to select and from so we're going to need the playlist and the playlist ID. So it looks like there's a many-to-many relationship because we have a playlist and playlist track and then the track table. So linking these together, we'll go and expand this out. So the playlist ID is a linking table since it includes foreign keys, playlist ID and track ID. And then we have playlist, which has a primary key and its data, and track and its data. So we're going to have to come from, let's just start with playlist first. Playlist, I'll abbreviate PL. I'm going to join it to, I have to join it to playlist track. And we'll just name it playlist track. How about PLT, playlist track. On, so it's going to PL dot playlist ID equals to playlist track playlist ID. And then we need to join up the track table. And it will be on the playlist track dot track ID equals the tracks table track ID. So we're just matching common names, track ID to track ID, playlist ID to playlist ID. So track ID to track ID. And we wanted to display the track name. So the track name is in the track table. Simply name. We also want to display the playlist name. And the playlist ID. So if we go ahead and run this, we get a lot of information out. Looks like most of the playlists are named music. Some things we want to do is actually just look at another table or one of the individual tables and see what's actually on there. We're going to select everything from playlist and see what does that look like. So music, movies, TV shows, audiobooks, 90s, audio files, or yeah, audiobooks. There's 2 audiobooks. Movies, music, There's 2 musics, there's 2 audiobooks, and they have different ID numbers. So it looks like somebody messed up with some unique constraints here in the database and allowed 2 different playlists into the system with the same name, music and audiobooks. So we'll have to make note of that if something's on the music playlist, we probably need to look at the name because they're spelled exactly the same. So it looks like a quirk in the database, so we'll have to be using the playlist name versus the playlist ID, probably to count how many is on the same named playlist anyway. No, appearing in 4 different playlists. So yeah, I'm going to consider music should be 1 playlist. So it says you will first need to find the distinct track name and playlist ID, as some tracks are in different formats, like MP3, AAC, etc. And the name shows up multiple times under 1 playlist ID. So let's see if we can write that query first. That's probably going to be a where. So we're looking at the name. I'll just start abbreviating this stuff here. So we're looking same thing as we did above. Now we're looking at playlist ID. And I think I want to join all the same as above. And it says I need the distinct. So as a tip, you'll first need to find the distinct track name, playlist ID. So if I don't find distinct, and I just run this, I have 8,715 rows. And that's because some of the music, like I said, is in MP3 or AAC format. So because they're different formats, that same song will appear multiple times, sometimes for the same playlist. So you have an MP3 version of Jump and an AAC version of Jump, and it would appear on the playlist twice because it's the same song in 2 different formats. So we want to cut that out, as saying in this little hint, by using the keyword distinct and only looking at the name and playlist ID. We're not wanting to look at the different media types. So if I execute it this time, I drop down to the hint, 8,159 rows. So any song now that was the name of the song appeared multiple times on the same playlist ID, we've eliminated that with this distinct. So we're looking at the name and the playlist ID and collapsed it down into 1. You will then select the track name from the previous output that shows up on more than 4 playlists. So that's going to be a query here. I only want to select the track name. That right there, the track name. From this subquery gave me this table, so I'm wanting to pull out the track name, it says. So select the track name from this information, and I want to select that I want to group by the track name, because if the track appears in more than one playlist, the name will have different playlist IDs out beside it. So I want to group by the track name. Let's just see what output. Subquery and from must have an alias. So this section, this subquery in the from says it has to have an alias. That's just as, I like foo, type anything at all. So let's rerun. So grouping by track name, and let's just do a count everything, count star. What does that show me? So that showing me these songs, One for the Road showed up on 3 playlists. Motor Breath showed up on 2 different playlists, and so forth. So what I'm wanting to do, I'm wanting to eliminate this down to where they are only 4 playlists or more. Let's see, show up on more than 4 playlists. So we're wanting to see 5 and 6 playlists. So having count, what are we counting? We need to count a particular column. We need to count the playlist ID. The playlist ID, the abbreviation right up there, PLID. How many times does different playlist IDs show up where it's greater than 4? So now we've gotten down to the 43 rows. So we've used a subquery to look at all of the distinct names and playlist IDs to eliminate any of the duplicates, because sometimes the name of the song will, like I said, have multiple genres, so get rid of the duplicates on that. I meant different, not genres, different formats. So that's what the distinct did, got rid of those duplicates. And then we grouped by name and counted the number of playlists that each name was found on, and only looked at the ones that were on more than 4 playlists. I can still do a count star here, and that should show me the ones that are all 5 or higher. I don't know if anybody has anything higher than 5 different playlists, but just showing what our output was supposed to be. These songs show up on 5 different playlists. So now I need to combine it. I need to view the name, the playlist name, and the playlist IDs. So I can do that by taking the names of the tracks and putting it into a where statement. So this first query up here displays track name, and playlist ID. This statement down here at the nested select statement shows me only the names that are on 4 different playlists. So if I use a where, the track name is in the following list. I have to open up a bracket, close a bracket at the end. So all of that select statement, I'm grabbing the name and using an in because there's multiples. So in works great when you have an array of information to look at. So I want to see all the track names that match the track name in our subqueried output. So if I execute this all together, only those names showing up in this section will be displayed in this outer query here. So we have 217 rows as our answer. And now we can see, like, collision, there's 1, 2, 3. There should be 5 of them. So we're probably having an order. Yes, we missed we need to order by the track name. So order by the track name followed by the playlist name. Now if I execute, so now that we've got everything ordered, we can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So each of these here, I think in our original output, would show that each one would be on 5 different playlists. Now one of the confusing things is here we see this one shows up on music. The playlist ID is 2 different playlist IDs. So that was an intentional duplicate there, I think, they put into Chinook to show you why you might need to put unique constraints. So they didn't build the database perfectly. They left some flaws in there and showed that you can put the same playlist name in to one of the tables twice, and it would have 2 different ID numbers. But this here answers our question and also shows us a flaw in the original design of the database, being on a music playlist, but on 2 separate ID numbers for a music playlist. So that was the code. That one was quite long. You had to break it up into small chunks to try to understand it. The question was written to where it was broken up into different subqueries that you had to run, and hopefully that helped you out a little bit, and hopefully this video helped you out a little bit more.